They called it a holiday special, but what viewers witnessed was something far more unsettling. The final, desperate performance of a couple watching their Hollywood dreams disintegrate in real time. For years, the world has been captivated by royal scandals, by marriages that crumbled under pressure, by fairy tales that turned into nightmares. But never before have we seen a couple so thoroughly document their own downfall, so meticulously chronicle every misstep, every burned bridge, every failed venture. What really happened behind the scenes of Meghan Markle's cooking show? Why did Netflix, the company that paid them a fortune, quietly walk away? And what does this spectacular failure reveal about a marriage that may be on the verge of collapse? Join us as we uncover the untold story of how a $100 million dream became a career-ending disaster, and why Harry's uncomfortable cameo in his wife's holiday special may have exposed the truth about their relationship that no amount of PR spin can hide. The discovery came not through an official announcement, but through something far more telling: silence. On November 27, 2024, Netflix released With Love. Meghan, without the fanfare typically reserved for high-profile content from celebrity producers. No red carpet premiere, no press junket, no coordinated media campaign across morning shows and entertainment outlets. The special simply appeared in the streaming platform's catalog, buried among countless other holiday offerings released weeks earlier than its planned January 15, 2025 premiere date. Industry insiders recognized the signs immediately. When a streaming platform dumps content early with minimal promotion, it's sending a message. They're cutting their losses. They're moving on. They're done. One veteran entertainment executive, speaking on condition of anonymity in early December 2024, put it bluntly: Netflix's handling of Meghan's special was a masterclass in corporate distancing. They'd fulfilled their contractual obligations while making it abundantly clear they had no confidence in the product and no intention of investing further resources in promoting it. The special itself was filmed throughout 2023 in a stunning Montecito estate that wasn't actually Harry and Meghan's home. This detail, seemingly minor, would become central to understanding the deeply inauthentic nature of the entire production. Meghan moved through borrowed spaces, cooking in a kitchen that wasn't hers, arranging flowers in rooms she didn't live in, creating holiday traditions that bore no resemblance to her actual life. The whole thing felt like watching someone play dress-up in someone else's clothes, performing a version of domesticity that existed only for the cameras. The most painfully awkward moment arrived when Prince Harry made his brief appearance. Meghan thanked him for showing up, an odd phrasing that struck viewers as strange. Why would a wife thank her husband for appearing in their own home, participating in their own holiday traditions? Unless, of course, none of it was real. Unless the home wasn't theirs, the traditions were fabricated, and Harry's presence was, as one body language expert noted, a contractual obligation rather than a willing participation in his wife's creative vision. But perhaps the most devastating scene came when Meghan stood before a sparsely decorated Christmas tree and waxed poetic about how ornaments tell a family's story. She spoke with apparent sincerity about nostalgia, about memories, about the passage of time captured in decorations collected over years. The camera lingered on the tree, on Meghan's face, on the carefully staged domestic tableau. What it didn't show, what it couldn't show, was the glaring absence at the heart of this supposed family story: her father. Thomas Markle, the man who raised Meghan as a single parent after divorcing her mother when Meghan was 6 years old, was nowhere in this narrative. No photo on the mantle, no ornament acknowledging his decades of sacrifice and support. No mention of the lighting director who worked double and triple shifts in Hollywood to afford his daughter's private school education at Immaculate Heart High School in Los Angeles. No recognition of the father who drove her to auditions, who believed in her dreams, who gave her every opportunity to succeed. The omission was made even more painful by video footage that resurfaced in early December 2024, posted by a royal commentary channel. The clip showed a young Meghan, fresh-faced and beaming, emerging from her high school graduation. She spotted her father recording her moment of triumph, and her face lit up with genuine joy and affection. The warmth between them was unmistakable. This was a loving father-daughter relationship, captured in a moment of pure happiness before fame, before royalty, before everything fell apart. Royal commentator and YouTube analyst Dina made a crucial observation when reviewing the footage: Meghan's inability to acknowledge her father, even in a holiday special supposedly celebrating family and nostalgia, revealed something deeply troubling about her character. It showed a coldness, a willingness to erase people who no longer served her purposes, an instrumentalist view of relationships that prioritized image over authenticity. For viewers who knew Meghan's history, who'd watched her father's increasingly desperate attempts to reconnect with his daughter and meet his grandchildren, the Christmas tree scene felt less like heartwarming holiday content and more like evidence of a profound moral failing. To understand how Meghan Markle went from promising royal bride to failed lifestyle guru, we need to return to the beginning, to May 19, 2018, when she married Prince Harry at St. George's Chapel in Windsor Castle before a global television audience estimated at 1.9 billion people, to the moment when she became the Duchess of Sussex and joined one of the most famous families in the world, to the fairy tale that millions wanted to believe in: the American actress, biracial and divorced, who would modernize the monarchy and bring fresh perspective to an ancient institution. Meghan Rachel Markle was born on August 4, 1981, in Los Angeles, California, to Thomas Markle, a successful television lighting director, and Doria Ragland, a yoga instructor and social worker. Her parents divorced when she was 6, and Meghan was primarily raised by her father, though she maintained a relationship with both parents throughout her childhood and early adult life. She attended private Catholic schools, studied theater and international relations at Northwestern University, and built a modestly successful acting career that culminated in a 7-season run on the legal drama Suits. By the time she met Prince Harry in July 2016, allegedly set up on a blind date by a mutual friend, Meghan was 35 years old, divorced from her first husband Trevor Engelson, and running a popular lifestyle blog called The. She was comfortable in her own skin, financially independent, and seemingly content with her life in Toronto, where Suits was filmed. She was not, contrary to her later claims, naive about the royal family or unaware of Harry's status. Her blog posts and social media activity revealed fascination with British culture, admiration for Princess Diana, and awareness of the monarchy's significance. Prince Harry, meanwhile, was 31 years old and carrying wounds that had never properly healed. He was just 12 when his mother died in that Paris car crash on August 31, 1997. He'd walked behind her coffin at her funeral, maintaining composure for the cameras while his world shattered. In the years that followed, he'd struggled with mental health, with anger, with finding purpose beyond being the spare heir. He'd served in the military, finding structure and meaning in army life. He'd launched the Invictus Games, a sporting competition for wounded veterans. He'd done meaningful charity work, particularly with children affected by HIV, AIDS in Africa, continuing his mother's legacy. But Harry had also developed a bitter resentment toward the press, whom he blamed for his mother's death. He harbored grievances against his family for what he perceived as their coldness, their inability to express emotion, their prioritization of duty over feelings. He'd watched his brother William marry Catherine Middleton in 2011 and start a family, wondering if he'd ever find someone willing to take on the impossible burden of royal life. When he met Meghan, he saw someone who seemed fearless, independent, willing to challenge conventions. He saw, perhaps, what he wanted to see rather than what was really there. Their courtship was conducted largely in secret for the first several months. They took a trip to Botswana in August 2016, just weeks after meeting, camping under the stars and falling in love away from prying eyes. By November 2016, Harry took the extraordinary step of releasing a public statement defending Meghan against what he characterized as racist and sexist media coverage. The statement was notable for its emotional tone and its revelation that Harry was in a serious relationship. It also marked the beginning of a pattern, Harry positioning himself and Meghan as victims of media persecution rather than public figures subject to legitimate scrutiny. The engagement was announced on November 27, 2017, with an interview that would be analyzed and reanalyzed for years to come. Meghan claimed she'd known very little about Harry or the royal family before meeting him, saying she'd never Googled him and wasn't familiar with the details of his life. This struck many as implausible for someone who ran a lifestyle blog, maintained an active social media presence, and had previously expressed interest in British culture and the monarchy. But the narrative of the naive American who stumbled into a royal romance served a purpose. It made their love story seem spontaneous and fated rather than calculated. The wedding itself was a spectacular affair that cost an estimated £32 million, largely for security. The ceremony blended traditional royal elements with personal touches reflecting Meghan's heritage. A stirring sermon by African-American Episcopal Bishop Michael Curry, performances by the Kingdom Choir, and Meghan's decision to walk part of the aisle alone before being joined by Prince Charles after her own father withdrew at the last moment. Thomas Markle had been caught staging paparazzi photos and suffered a heart attack in the days before the wedding. He begged Meghan to postpone so he could attend, but she refused. It was the beginning of their estrangement, a rift that would never heal. For a brief period after the wedding, it seemed possible that Meghan would succeed as a working royal. She accompanied Harry on a tour of Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, and Tonga in October 2018. Charming crowds and fulfilling official duties with apparent confidence. She announced her pregnancy during that tour, generating positive headlines and public goodwill. She launched her first patronage project, a cookbook supporting women affected by the Grenfell Tower fire that killed 72 people in June 2017. She spoke eloquently about women's empowerment and social justice issues. But behind the palace walls, trouble was brewing. Staff members began leaving their positions at an alarming rate. Reports emerged of 5 a.m. emails, exacting standards, and what several former employees described as bullying behavior. Meghan's communication style, honed in Hollywood where assertiveness was valued, clashed with the more formal and hierarchical culture of royal household management. People who'd worked for the royal family for decades found themselves unable to meet Meghan's expectations or withstand her management approach. Tensions also developed with Catherine, the Princess of Wales. The two women were fundamentally different in temperament and approach. Catherine had dated William for nearly a decade before their engagement, using that time to understand royal life and prepare for her future role. She accepted guidance from experienced courtiers, adapted her natural personality to meet royal expectations, and prioritized family relationships over personal preferences. Meghan, by contrast, wanted to do things her way immediately. She chafed at protocol, questioned traditions, and seemed to view royal life as a platform for her own agenda rather than a duty to serve the monarch and country. The breaking point came in early 2020. On January 8th, Harry and Meghan announced via Instagram that they intended to step back as senior royals, split their time between the UK and North America, and become financially independent while continuing to support the Queen. The announcement blindsided Buckingham Palace, Clarence House, and Kensington Palace. It violated every protocol around coordinating family communications. It forced the Queen's hand and created a public relations crisis. The response was swift and decisive. Emergency meetings were convened. By January 18, 2020, the terms of Harry and Meghan's exit were announced. They would step back from royal duties completely, no longer represent the Queen, repay the £2.4 million spent renovating Frogmore Cottage, and pursue financial independence. They could keep their Duke and Duchess titles but wouldn't use their HRH styles. They were, in effect, banished from the institution they'd tried to reform on their own terms. The couple relocated to Canada briefly, then to Los Angeles as the COVID-19 pandemic shut down the world in March 2020. By June 2020, they'd purchased a $14.65 million estate in Montecito, California, a wealthy enclave north of Los Angeles favored by celebrities like Oprah Winfrey and Ellen DeGeneres. The house sits on 5.4 acres, features 9 bedrooms and 16 bathrooms, and provided the privacy and security they claimed to desperately need. It also came with a substantial mortgage that would require significant income to maintain. That income would supposedly come from their entertainment ventures, starting with their blockbuster Netflix deal. Announced in September 2020, the partnership was reportedly worth between $100 million and $150 million over 5 years. Harry and Meghan would produce documentaries, docuseries, feature films, scripted programming, and children's content through Archie Productions. Netflix executives were betting on the couple's global fame, their unique insider perspective on royal life, and their ability to generate the kind of buzz that translates into subscriber growth and media attention. The first major project, the 6-part documentary series Harry and Meghan, released in December 2022. The series told their love story and departure from royal life from their perspective, featuring intimate home videos and emotional interviews. It broke viewership records, with 8.1 million households watching in the first 4 days. But critical reception was mixed, and the backlash in the United Kingdom was severe. Many viewers accused the couple of playing the victim, of profiting from royal connections while claiming to want privacy, of making accusations they couldn't fully substantiate against family members who couldn't defend themselves publicly. More importantly for Netflix, the success of Harry and Meghan created a problem. What would the couple do for an encore? Their personal story had been told, their grievances had been aired, their dramatic exit had been documented. What content could they create that would maintain audience interest and justify the massive investment? This question would haunt the partnership for the next 2 years and ultimately lead to its quiet dissolution. The couple produced Live to Lead, a docuseries featuring interviews with global leaders like Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Jacinda Ardern. It received minimal viewership and little critical attention. They produced Heart of Invictus, a series about athletes competing in Harry's adaptive sports competition for wounded veterans. While better received critically, it failed to generate significant audience engagement. Neither project came close to matching the viewership or cultural impact of their first documentary. Netflix executives, according to multiple industry sources in late 2024, had been growing increasingly frustrated. They'd paid a fortune for access to 2 of the world's most famous people, but those people only seemed capable of talking about themselves and their grievances. The couple's most valuable asset, their insider royal perspective, had been exhausted after one documentary series. Everything else they proposed felt generic, uninspired, unlikely to cut through the noise of the incredibly competitive streaming landscape. This is where Meghan's vision for a lifestyle empire entered the picture. She'd long wanted to revive her blog, The Tig, in some form, to position herself as a trusted authority on cooking, entertaining, fashion, and wellness. She'd built a following before joining the royal family with content about accessible luxury, self-care rituals, and mindful living. Why couldn't she translate that into streaming content? Why couldn't she become the next Martha Stewart or Gwyneth Paltrow, building a multimedia empire around her personal brand and aesthetic? With love, Meghan was supposed to answer those questions. The special would showcase her Montecito home, share her holiday traditions, demonstrate her cooking skills, and introduce viewers to celebrity friends who'd sing her praises. It would launch her broader lifestyle brand, American Riviera Orchard, which would sell products ranging from cookware to home goods to specialty foods. The special would prove she had value beyond her royal connections, that she could create compelling content that didn't depend on airing family grievances or documenting personal trauma. But the special, when it finally emerged in late November 2024, proved the opposite. It revealed that Meghan had no particular expertise in cooking, no distinctive entertaining philosophy, no authentic personal story to share. The food she prepared looked unappetizing. The home she showcased wasn't actually hers. The traditions she described rang hollow given her estrangement from her own family. The celebrity guests offered generic praise that felt scripted and insincere. The whole production felt like a desperate attempt to manufacture a persona that didn't actually exist. Critics were brutal in their assessments. One reviewer noted that successful lifestyle content requires either genuine expertise or authentic relatability, and Meghan offered neither. Martha Stewart earned her authority through decades of actual work developing recipes, techniques, and business acumen. Ina Garten connected with audiences through self-deprecating warmth and approachable cooking that people actually wanted to replicate. Even Gwyneth Paltrow, often mocked for her privileged perspective, maintained a consistent point of view and delivered regular content that her audience valued. Meghan's special provided none of this. It was too polished to feel genuine, too generic to be memorable, too disconnected from her actual life to offer real insight. The hygiene issues didn't help. Viewers noticed Meghan handling food while wearing her elaborate engagement ring and wedding band, mixing ingredients with jewelry that would be impossible to clean properly. The images spawned countless social media jokes about Salmonella Sussex, a nickname that trended on Twitter and encapsulated public ridicule of the special. What was meant to showcase Meghan's domestic goddess credentials instead became evidence of her disconnection from the realities of actual cooking and food safety. But the moment that truly exposed the emptiness at the heart of the special was Harry's cameo. He appeared uncomfortable, reluctant, going through the motions of thanking crew members and accepting his wife's thanks for showing up. Body language experts analyzing the footage noted several telling details: the lack of physical affection between the couple, the formal quality of their interaction, Harry's obvious desire to exit the scene as quickly as possible, Meghan's forced brightness that couldn't quite hide underlying tension. One expert noted that Harry's body language throughout his brief appearance suggested someone fulfilling an obligation rather than participating in a genuine moment with his spouse. His smile didn't reach his eyes. His posture was closed. His movements were stiff and rushed. This wasn't a husband proudly supporting his wife's creative project. This was a man going through contractually obligated motions, counting the seconds until he could escape the cameras and return to whatever he actually wanted to be doing. The contrast with Catherine's Christmas content, released around the same time, was devastating. The Princess of Wales hosted her annual Together at Christmas Carol service, writing a heartfelt message about community, service, and the simple acts of kindness that create meaningful change. She spoke about how our lives are woven together like tree roots sharing strength beneath the soil, about the power of reaching out with generosity of heart. Her message was genuine, moving, focused entirely on serving others rather than promoting a brand. There were no product placements, no commercial partnerships, no attempt to monetize the holiday spirit, just authentic service. Royal commentators noted that Catherine and Meghan had both married into the same family, taken on similar responsibilities, faced comparable media scrutiny. One had adapted, grown, and found ways to use her platform for genuine good while maintaining family relationships and royal duties. The other had fled, complained, and attempted to monetize her royal connections while severing nearly every meaningful relationship in her life. One had faced a cancer diagnosis in 2024 with grace and privacy, sharing her struggle only to help others facing similar challenges. The other had turned every difficulty into content, every grievance into a money-making opportunity. By mid-December 2024, the truth could no longer be avoided. Netflix was done with Harry and Meghan. Multiple entertainment industry sources confirmed that the streaming platform would not renew the partnership when the current contract expired. The decision wasn't surprising to anyone who'd been paying attention. The couple had failed to deliver content that justified their massive contract. Their brand had become toxic in key markets, particularly the United Kingdom. Their most valuable asset, their royal insider status, had been exhausted, and their attempt to create compelling content beyond simply talking about themselves had failed spectacularly. The failure of With Love, Meghan represented the final straw for Netflix executives who'd been patient far longer than the couple deserved. They'd given Meghan every resource, every opportunity to prove she could create something people actually wanted to watch. She'd failed completely. The special generated minimal viewership, overwhelmingly negative reviews, and became a source of mockery across social media. It was, in the brutal assessment of one industry insider, a career-ending disaster that confirmed what many had suspected. Meghan Markle had nothing of value to offer beyond her royal connections and her willingness to air family grievances. What makes this professional disaster even more significant is what it reveals about Harry and Meghan's marriage. Sources close to the couple have been suggesting for months that all is not well behind closed doors. The couple increasingly appears separately at events. They seem to be living parallel lives rather than genuinely shared existence. When they do appear together, the easy affection from their courtship and early marriage has been replaced by something that looks more like a business partnership under strain. The Netflix debacle has reportedly intensified existing tensions. Harry never wanted to be a Hollywood producer or content creator. He wanted to use whatever platform he had to continue his mother's legacy of charitable work, particularly around veterans issues, mental health, and conservation. But he got pulled into Meghan's vision of building a lifestyle and entertainment empire, of becoming celebrities who parlayed fame into business success. That vision isn't working, and Harry can see it clearly. He's watching his reputation crumble, his family relationships disintegrate, his standing in his home country collapse to historic lows, all in service of a dream that was never his to begin with. Meghan, according to sources, has grown increasingly frustrated with what she perceives as insufficient support from Harry. She expected him to be her champion, her defender, her partner in building this new life. Instead, she's faced criticism for nearly every decision, watched her ventures fail repeatedly, and seen public opinion turn decisively against her. Her Spotify podcast was canceled after one season. Her lifestyle brand, American Riviera Orchard, announced with great fanfare in March 2024, has failed to launch any actual products months later. And now Netflix, the partnership that was supposed to secure their financial future, is ending. The couple's financial situation is reportedly becoming a serious concern. They have enormous expenses, mortgage payments on their Montecito estate, security costs running into millions annually, staff salaries, travel expenses, and the need to maintain an image of success and luxury. Harry's memoir, Spare, provided significant income initially, with sales of 6 million copies in its first week when released in January 2023, but those sales have dropped dramatically. Speaking fees and appearance payments have declined as the couple's popularity has waned. Without Netflix's guaranteed payments, they'll need to find new revenue streams quickly. This financial pressure is creating a toxic dynamic in the marriage, according to multiple sources. Harry reportedly feels guilty about the income pressure, about his inability to provide the security and stability he'd promised when they left royal life. He'd assured Meghan they could make it work, that his inheritance from his mother and grandmother would provide a cushion while they built new careers. But the reality has proven far more challenging. Meghan reportedly feels resentful that Harry's family connections, the one asset they'd tried to monetize, have become so damaged they're now liabilities. She'd given up her acting career, her independence, to marry into his family and support his vision. Now she's professionally adrift, financially insecure, watching her dreams slip away. Their children, Archie Harrison, born May 6, 2019, and Lilibet Diana, born June 4, 2021, are growing up in this environment of tension and uncertainty. The couple has kept both children largely hidden from public view, claiming to protect their privacy, but sources suggest Harry and Meghan disagree about how much exposure is appropriate. Meghan reportedly wants to feature the children more in content, seeing them as humanizing elements for her brand. Harry, traumatized by his own childhood in the spotlight, is reportedly adamantly opposed to using his children for commercial purposes. The children themselves face an unusual and potentially damaging situation. They hold royal titles, prince and princess, but don't know the family those titles represent. They've rarely met their grandfather, King Charles III, who ascended to the throne on September 8, 2022, following the death of Queen Elizabeth II. They have virtually no relationship with their uncle Prince William, Aunt Catherine, or cousins Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. They're being raised in California, far from the country their titles represent, with no apparent plans to learn about British history, culture, or their unique heritage. It's a strange limbo, neither fully American nor genuinely royal, disconnected from both parents' roots. Child psychologists who've studied similar situations warn that children raised without connection to half their heritage often struggle with identity formation and belonging. Archie and Lilibet will someday understand what they've missed, what their parents' choices cost them in terms of relationships and opportunities. They'll ask difficult questions about why they don't know their grandfather, why their cousins are strangers, why they were cut off from an entire side of their family. What answers will Harry and Meghan provide? As 2024 drew to a close, the couple faced an uncertain future on multiple fronts. Professionally, they needed to find new sources of income and new platforms to maintain their public profile. The Netflix rejection meant they'd lost their primary source of guaranteed income and their main vehicle for content creation. Meghan had reportedly been in talks with other networks about potential shows, but her track record of failed projects made her a risky investment. Nobody wanted to be the next company to invest millions in Meghan Markle only to watch another project fail. Harry had been approached about writing another memoir, publishers hoping to replicate the commercial success of Spare. But even Harry recognized that the appetite for more royal revelations had diminished significantly. He'd already told his story, already aired his grievances, already damaged his family relationships, perhaps beyond repair. What more was there to say? What secrets remained to reveal? What bridges were left to burn? Personally, the marriage showed signs of strain that insiders suggested might prove insurmountable. The couple who'd once seemed so united, so devoted, so determined to build a new life together, now appeared to be living increasingly separate existences. They maintained the public facade of a strong partnership, but those close to them noted the growing distance, the separate appearances, the lack of genuine warmth in their interactions. How long could they maintain the pretense? How long before the strain became impossible to hide? The relationship with the royal family remained fractured, perhaps irreparably. Harry had not spoken to his brother William in months, according to multiple sources. Their relationship, once so close that they were described as inseparable, had been destroyed by Harry's public attacks on Catherine, his accusations about the family, his betrayal of private conversations. William had reportedly written off his younger brother entirely, refusing to read his interviews or watch his documentaries, declining all attempts at communication. King Charles maintained a fragile connection with his younger son, speaking occasionally by phone but unable to rebuild trust after years of public attacks and private betrayals. Charles had reportedly drawn a clear line. Harry and Meghan were welcome to return to the family fold, but they must stop the public attacks, end the commercial exploitation of royal connections, and accept that trust must be rebuilt slowly through actions rather than words. Harry had rejected these terms, insisting his family must apologize first, must acknowledge the racism and mistreatment Meghan experienced. The impasse continued. The late Queen Elizabeth II, who died at age 96 on September 8, 2022, at Balmoral Castle in Scotland, never fully recovered from the hurt of Harry and Meghan's departure and subsequent attacks. In her final months, weakened by age and declining health, she watched her grandson make accusations on television, watched him profit from royal connections while claiming to want nothing to do with royal life, watched him play victim while living in luxury. Those close to her noted the sadness, the disappointment, the sense that she'd somehow failed to keep the family together despite welcoming Meghan warmly and giving her every opportunity to succeed. The Queen's death removed the one person who might have facilitated reconciliation between Harry and his family. She'd maintained her dignity and composure throughout the crisis, never responding publicly to the couple's attacks, always leaving the door open for their return. Her passing closed that door, perhaps permanently. Charles and William were less forgiving, less willing to overlook the damage Harry and Meghan had done to the institution and the family. Without the Queen's moderating influence, the rift seemed irreparable. Royal biographers studying the couple's trajectory identify several key moments where different choices might have led to different outcomes. If Meghan had been willing to adapt more to royal protocols, to learn from Catherine's example, to accept that change happens slowly in an ancient institution, if Harry had sought genuine trauma therapy rather than blaming all his problems on his family and the media, if the couple had been willing to maintain family relationships even while pursuing independence, if they'd recognized that privacy and global celebrity are fundamentally incompatible goals, but they didn't make those choices. They chose confrontation over compromise, victimhood over accountability, commercial exploitation over genuine service. They burned every bridge, severed every relationship, damaged every connection that might have provided support or guidance, and now they're facing the consequences. Failed ventures, damaged reputations, financial pressure, marriage strain, and children growing up disconnected from half their heritage. The tragedy of Harry and Meghan's story isn't that they left the royal family. Many people leave difficult family situations and build better lives elsewhere. The tragedy is how they left, with maximum damage to everyone involved, and what they've built in their new life. A house of cards constructed on grievance and commercial exploitation, collapsing one failed project at a time. With love, Meghan was supposed to be a new beginning, the launch of the lifestyle empire that would vindicate Meghan's decision to leave royal life and prove she had value beyond her titles. Instead, It became a symbol of everything that's gone wrong, a final chapter that revealed the emptiness at the heart of their California dream. The special showed a woman playing at domesticity in a borrowed house, talking about family while estranged from her own father, performing authenticity that fooled no one. And Harry's cameo, brief and uncomfortable, revealed the truth about their relationship that no amount of PR spin could hide. This isn't a partnership of equals pursuing shared dreams. This is one person dragging another along on a journey neither truly wants to take, toward a destination that keeps receding further into the distance. Harry looks trapped, obligated, going through motions for cameras and contracts. Meghan looks desperate, striving, trying to will success into existence through sheer force of performance. The Netflix rejection represents more than a business decision. It's a verdict on their entire post-royal strategy, a judgment that they have nothing of value to offer beyond their willingness to attack the family they left behind. And audiences have grown tired of that narrative, tired of the self-pity and hypocrisy, tired of watching privilege perform victimhood, tired of commercial exploitation disguised as authenticity. Catherine, Princess of Wales, who battled cancer throughout 2024, wrote in her Christmas message about simple acts of care that contribute to the beautiful tapestry of life to which we all belong. She wrote about how we're drawn by an instinctive pull toward belonging and connection, about reaching out with generosity of heart. These words, from a woman who faced her own crisis with grace and dignity, reveal what Harry and Meghan lost when they chose isolation over connection, grievance over gratitude, commercial opportunity over genuine service. They traded the tapestry for a rented mansion and a failed cooking show. They exchanged belonging for loneliness, connection for estrangement, purpose for profit-seeking. They burned relationships that might have sustained them, bridges that might have led them home, opportunities that might have given their lives meaning beyond commercial ventures and lifestyle branding. As 2025 begins, Harry and Meghan face questions that will determine not just their professional future, but the survival of their marriage and the well-being of their children. Can they pivot from failed content creators to something else entirely? Will they attempt reconciliation with the family they've spent years attacking? Can their marriage survive the pressure of disappointed dreams and mounting criticism? Will their children ever know their grandfather, their cousins, half their heritage? The Netflix rejection closed one door decisively. What doors, if any, remain open? What choices are still available? What redemption, if any, is still possible? These questions hang in the air as the couple confronts the consequences of 5 years of decisions that prioritized image over substance, grievance over growth, commercial exploitation over authentic connection. The late Queen Elizabeth II once observed that grief is the price we pay for love. Perhaps disappointment is the price we pay for dreams built on false foundations. Harry and Meghan dreamed of freedom but built a different kind of cage. They dreamed of financial independence but created financial pressure. They dreamed of control over their narrative but lost control over their lives. They dreamed of happiness in California but found isolation and professional failure. What will you remember about this chapter of royal history? The fairy tale wedding or the bitter aftermath? The claims of wanting privacy or the constant media presence? The charitable intentions or the commercial exploitation? The love story or the business partnership that it became? Share your thoughts on this modern tragedy playing out in real time. It's a cautionary tale about the price of fame, the importance of family, the dangerous illusion that happiness can be found by running from problems rather than facing them. It's a reminder that success requires more than privilege and platform, that relationships matter more than commercial opportunities, that service to something larger than yourself provides meaning that lifestyle brands never can. And as we watch their Netflix career end with a whimper rather than a bang, as with love, Meghan fades from memory without a trace. As the couple faces an increasingly uncertain future, we're left wondering, what comes next? Will they learn from these failures? Will they find their way back to what truly matters? Or will they continue down this path until every last bridge has burned, every relationship has been severed, every opportunity has been squandered? Like and subscribe to follow this story as it continues to unfold, because one thing is certain, The story of Harry and Meghan, of royal dreams and Hollywood disappointments, of Netflix millions and lifestyle special failures is far from over. New chapters are being written every day, new choices being made, new consequences unfolding. We'll be here to help you understand what it all means, to provide context and perspective, to examine the decisions and their costs. Because this story matters not just as royal gossip, but as a profound lesson about the choices we make, the relationships we value, and the price we pay when we prioritize image over authenticity, profit over purpose, isolation over connection. Harry and Meghan's journey from Kensington Palace to Montecito, from working royals to failed content creators, from fairy tale romance to strained business partnership, it's a story that will be studied for generations as a cautionary tale about what happens when privilege meets grievance, when fame collides with victimhood, when dreams built on false foundations inevitably crumble into dust.